श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णा प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः। प्रपन्नपारिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला। अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः। पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं। लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसि न श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुत स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैर्गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणा। देवाय तस्मै नमः, देवाय तस्मै नमः, देवाय तस्मै नमः। Welcome to the study of the Bhagavad Gita. We have concluded the 10th chapter, the Vibhuti Yoga of the Bhagavad Gita. We are starting the 11th chapter called the Viswarupa Darshana Yoga. Viswarupa, that means the cosmic form. The cosmos is known as Vishwa or the universe. Now science is talking about multiverses. That is not just the universe, it's not just one, but there are many, many universes. So it is called the multiverse theory. So Vishwarupa, Vishwa is not just this universe, but we can also take it as the multiverse, which is the cosmos. So Viswarupa Darshana, the vision of the cosmic form of Sri Krishna. When we are in a state of confusion, utter confusion, and when we see that there is no other way out of the mire which we have put ourselves in, the only place of refuge is, of course, the divine abode, or we take refuge at the feet of the divine. only when we have exhausted all our efforts that the divine comes forward and takes us in his arms, as it were. We all are aware of that very famous story of the footprints in the sands of time, where the devotee or the disciple is walking uh, uh, in the sun, in the desert, and he prays to the Lord, "O Lord, be with me, be with me. It's very difficult for me to cross over this." And so, as he is crossing, he finds the going very, very difficult. When he is talking to the Lord, he sees two sets of footprints, one his own and the other one is the Lord's. And after some time, when he reaches the destination, he complains to the Lord, "O Lord, you left me alone. See, there are only one set of footprints. Formerly there were two sets of footprints, but there is only one." And the Lord said, "Well, my child, when you could not go on any further, I held you in my arms, and those footprints are mine, actually." So that is what it is. When we have exhausted all our ingenuity, it is then that we take refuge at the feet of the Lord, and the Lord definitely takes us in his arms. Then God reveals himself, either directly or even indirectly through somebody, in the form of some person, maybe a human being or an animal or a bird, whatever it is. He will come in that form and then help us, which we have seen in our own lives at many times. When we have exhausted all of our efforts, we have found that we have received solace from unknown sources as well. So that surrender has to become complete in order to be fully established in God vision, so to say. So this chapter is known to be one of the most important of all the chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, because in the 18th chapter, toward the end of the 18th chapter, Sanjaya, who is the one who is narrating the whole of the Bhagavad Gita, there he says, "Taccha samsprutya rupamatyadbhutam mare vismayomi mahan rajan rishyami cha punah punah." He said, thinking of the divine again and again and beholding the Viswarupa, or the cosmic form of the Lord, my hair is standing on end. It means so much of excitement is there, so much of joy is welling up within me, having seen the form of the divine. So here in this chapter, Sri Krishna reveals himself almost totally to Sri Arjuna, because after hearing all the glories about the Lord in the previous chapter, Arjuna is still not satisfied, because Sri Krishna has said there in one of the verses, he says that what I have revealed to you is only a very infinitesimal part of myself. It's a minute part of myself. Having heard that, Arjuna's wish or his enthusiasm to know the Lord in its fullest has become very ripe, so to say. And therefore, he says that one is not satisfied until the Lord himself comes into our life. Sri Ramakrishna used to give an example. In olden days, the parents used to fix the marriages of the youngsters. Now it is changing, of course, but still it is there in Indian villages and in some other cultures as well. So the father or the mother, they decide whom you are going to marry, and the the boy and the girl, they do not even see each other. When there was no photography in those days, one would not even see. So, but one would hear, the bride would hear about the qualities of her future husband. She has not seen him. Then comes the very auspicious day when the marriage takes place and the bridegroom comes. And Sri Ramakrishna says, when the bridegroom comes and the bride beholds her husband, future husband, she is speechless. So also are her friends who have been chatting all the time, and as soon as the bridegroom enters the hall, everybody falls silent, because now there is no more speculation about how he is or who he is. Now the very bridegroom has arrived. So in the same way, when we are thinking of the glories of the divine, we know a little bit of the divine. But when the divine enters our heart, when he enters our being, as it were, our soul as it were, then there is no more of speculation. There is only that total enjoyment, total happiness, total satisfaction. So therefore, Vedanta gives a lot of importance to anubhuti and not vibhuti. Vibhuti is the glories and anubhuti is direct experience. Anubhuti is very, very important. You may have many visions, you may have heard voices and so on and so forth, but that is of no avail until and unless you have the direct experience of the divine. And here we see that this vision convinces Arjuna that Sri Krishna is the Supreme Lord himself. Even up to that time of having hearing the vibhutis, Arjuna probably thought that, Sri Krishna is off. Maybe he may be a special human being, maybe a special yogi, and therefore he can manifest things, which is possible. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, we see one chapter called Vibhuti Pada, the chapter dealing with all types of vibhutis, that means the glories. So you can experience miracles, etc., by following certain disciplines. Yogic disciplines, you can gain mastery over the nature around you. It is possible. So Arjuna probably had this doubt in his mind, just a little bit of doubt, that, well, Sri Krishna might be a Siddha yogi, he may be a yogi who is adept in yoga, and one who has gained a lot of powers, special powers. But in this chapter we find that Arjuna has no more any illusions about Sri Krishna's divinity. So he now sees that, Arjuna sees that Sri Krishna has become the universe itself. He is the universe. He is what he is, but more than that, he is also the universe. Far greater than his manifestation, he is the Lord himself. So in this chapter, we can see that Sri Krishna exhorts Arjuna to become his disciple and accept his Avataravada. See, one thing which Hinduism talks about, probably Christianity also, is that you should recognize the avatara or the incarnation as he is. Only when you recognize this Avataravada or the incarnationhood of the divine, then only will the path be open to you. This is very important in spiritual life for us, especially the ones who follow the path of Vedanta. Accepting the Guru and accepting the Lord who can be manifest. See, if you read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna in the beginning itself, you will find Sri Ramakrishna asking Yam, do you believe in God with form or without form? Yam responds, he said, well, I believe in God without form. And not keeping quiet, he adds, well, those who do not who think that God can have form need to be taught, because he was a school teacher, you see, so he had that teaching in his blood, so he should be taught. And Sri Ramakrishna immediately retorts and he says, this is one disease with you people. You always want to teach others. You do not know who is going to teach you. You do not have the knowledge yourself and you want to teach others. Of course, later Sri Ramakrishna explains it to him and he says that, well, God who has created the whole universe, who has manifested himself as can he not manifest as a human being? What is wrong with him manifesting as a human being? God can manifest as a human being. It is, you cannot limit God and say he cannot be this. Who are you to limit the divine? We cannot limit his nature, so to say. So he says, in this chapter we see Sri Krishna exhorting Arjuna to accept his avatarvada, his being as the avatara. And Arjuna, while seeing the form, some terrible form of Sri Krishna, where he sees that blood is oozing out from his mouth and he is gobbling up the whole universes within himself and all, so Arjuna is at first very much terrified. And it's only afterwards when he starts realizing that this is the Lord who is my father, who is my mother, who is my everything. And when that love wells up in him, he is no more afraid of the divine form of the Lord. All fear is removed when this is done. Sri Ramakrishna used to give the example of a mother. A child has been very naughty, and the mother punishes the child. With red eyes, she is looking fiercely at the child. Now, when she sees, at first, the child becomes very much afraid, but at the same time, the child hugs the mother. See, that is to say, even though you are terrible, but yet you are the only source of love for me, mother. That is the idea. In the imagery of Mother Kali, we see this. When I was young, people in the small towns and villages, they didn't have much of knowledge about the form of the divine Mother Kali. I would say, only Mother Kali is only worshipped by people who are of terrible natures. So normal people do not worship the divine Mother Kali. No. When I read about Sri Ramakrishna, when I saw that Sri Ramakrishna was the devotee of Mother Kali, the whole idea changed. And Sri Ramakrishna says, when you see her from a distance, Mother Kali appears terrible, with blood dripping from her tongue, with hands holding severed head and all of that. It appears very, but you go nearer and nearer to the mother. That means spiritually you go nearer to the mother. You will find that she is full of love, she is full of compassion, she is full of concern for her children. That is the real nature of the divine. But as long as you are unaware of the real nature of the divine appears to be distant, appears to be terrible. So, in this Viswarupa Darshana yoga, in this chapter, Sri Krishna grants special vision or special power to Arjuna to witness his form. He also grants special power to Sanjaya, of course through the grace of Vyasa. Sanjaya, who is narrating the whole of this Mahabharata to Dhritarashtra, book Bhagavad Gita to Dhritarashtra, the blind king, he also has this great vision of Sri Krishna. So, Sri Krishna here has granted special power to Arjuna to witness his divine form. Swami Vivekananda was very much importunate, and he used to approach Sri Ramakrishna to grant him the vision, God vision or samadhi. So he was so insistent. Sri Ramakrishna tried to reason with him and said, "My child, practice spiritual disciplines, and in due course you will have samadhi." But he was so importunate, he was so restless that Sri Ramakrishna said, "All right, you will have samadhi." And Vivekananda, the young Naren at that time, had samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi. That is much before he practiced spiritual disciplines. But self-realization, one is God vision, the other is known as self-realization. Self-realization will come only when we perform sadhana. We earn the right to hold the knowledge within ourselves. We have seen this in the world many, many times. Somebody gets $1 million in a lottery. Young man gets $1 million, and after some time he will be having not a single cent with him because he doesn't know how to use the money. He has just used it, he has just swindled with the money. So when you earn it with the sweat of your eyebrow, with your brow, then you will know the worth of it. So here, Swami Brahmanandaji, when he was asked, "Swamiji, Sri Ramakrishna gave you all the spiritual experiences. He gave you even God vision, isn't it?" "Yes." "Then what is the need for you to practice all spiritual disciplines?" And Swami Brahmanandaji said, "Yes, Guru Maharaj, that is Sri Ramakrishna, no doubt gave us everything by his grace, but we have to make it our own. We should know the worth of it. That is why we are practicing the spiritual disciplines. Even though it was not necessary for them, but they wanted to make it their very own." So in the 10th chapter, we have seen that Arjuna asks Sri Krishna to show both his vibhuti, that is his glories, and also yoga, that is the path by which one can reach the divine. Vistarenatmano yogam vibhutim cha janardhana. He says there that please talk to me about both your glories and also the means and methods by which one can reach you. So in this chapter, Sri Krishna shows the vibhuti, no doubt, the glories, but also talks about the yoga, how to achieve or how to see the Lord in everything, how to experience the divine in everything. Sri Krishna, in his response, he says that the whole universe is only one part of myself. If you want to know more about myself, go forward, go onward. Sri Ramakrishna used to give this example of a woodcutter, a poor woodcutter. He used to go and then he would cut the wood in the forest and would make it into a bundle, take it to the market, sell the firewood, and then he used to run his family. A holy man took pity on this very hard-working woodcutter, and he said, "Well, my child, go onward, go onward." That's all. He just said those words and he left. Now, this is what the Guru does. The Guru gives you a formula, a mantra, and will say, go onward. And then you start going forward. So Sri Ramakrishna, continuing the story, Sri Ramakrishna says, the woodcutter went deeper into the forest. As he went deeper into the forest, he found sandalwood trees. So he cut some of the sandalwood and brought it to the market, sold it and became quite rich. After some time he thought, well, the holy man asked me to go forward. He did not ask me to stop with the sandalwood trees. So he goes inside and he finds a mine, a silver mine. He mines it and becomes really rich. But still, he said, go onward. And he goes and finds a gold mine. Further he goes, he finds rubies, he finds gems and also rubies, and then at last he finds a diamond mine. And that is the end of the forest. So, saying this, Sri Ramakrishna says that the Guru gives you the formula and asks you to go onward. A time will come when you will be completely enveloped with the grace of the divine. In the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita is a part of the Mahabharata as Mahabharata epic. And in this Mahabharata, we see Sri Krishna is revealing his divine form on two occasions. Once, when he went as the messenger or an ambassador of peace to the court of Dhritarashtra, wherein he says to Dhritarashtra, look here, O king, your brother's children, that is Pandavas, they are denied their lawful, rightful kingdom. Everything has been usurped by your son Duryodhana and his brothers. So it is time that you give even a few villages so that the Pandavas can look after those villages, and with that income they can lead a very comfortable life. But the wicked Duryodhana, he says, no, I would not even give an inch of land to the Pandavas. So wicked was he. At that time, Sri Krishna reveals his Virat Rupa, says, do not think that I am just an ordinary messenger that has come to you. And so he reveals his Virat Rupa. But the light of that form, or the brightness of that form, it dazzled the eyes of all those who were seated in the court. All of them closed their eyes except a few like Drona, Bhishma, Vidura, and Kripacharya, a few of them. Only a few of them could behold the form of Sri Krishna. So even though Sri Krishna tried to reveal his form to Duryodhana, who was the main villain in this Mahabharata, he could not see the form of the divine. Whereas in this chapter we see that Sri Krishna is revealing his form to Arjuna, but also first gives him the proper eyesight or the proper vision to behold his form. So without the divine himself revealing himself, how can we behold the divine? Sri Ramakrishna used to sing a song, Tumi na jaan ke tumhare jante pare, Tumi na jaan ale pore ke tumhare jante pare. O mother, who can know you if you do not yourself reveal your nature? How can we claim that we have got the worth to see you, to behold you? So with this we will begin the 11th chapter. We will take up the first verse. Arjuna uvacha madanugrahaya paramam guhyamadhyatma samnitam yatvayoktam vachastena mohoyam vigato mama. Thy instructions on the grand mystery, the highest spiritual truth imparted to me out of thy abounding grace, have dispelled my delusion. Arjuna says to Sri Krishna, your instructions on your vibhutis, your divine natures, have been imparted to me out of your abounding grace. So here one word, a few words need some explanation. Anugraha, the first word that he uses, anugraha. Anu plus graha is anugraha. Anu means to follow. Anu means to follow. Graha means to grasp. That is, following your advice, I will able to grasp your glory. I will be able to realize you, anugraha. That is one meaning. The second meaning of anugraha is grace. If your grace showers on me, O Lord, I will be able to behold you. I will be able to know you. I will be able to realize you. So, if one has to become free, one has to take refuge at the feet of the teacher, at the feet of the divine, or of the teacher, at the feet of the guru, and try to follow the instructions of the teacher. That is the idea. When the grace of the teacher showers on the disciple, when the teacher accepts the disciple fully, then there is nothing more to be done by the disciple. God himself does. Holy Mother Sharda Devi used to give spiritual initiation to many disciples. In fact, Swami Brahmananda and the other disciples of Sri Ramakrishna would not accept some as their disciples because they would see the quality of the person before they accepted. So to some they would refuse, especially Swami Brahmananda would refuse and say, no, 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 I cannot give you initiation. Your burden is too heavy for me to bear. So go to Holy Mother. So, so she would, my Holy Mother used to smilingly say, you know, children would normally give good gifts to their mother. But here, my sons, that is, Brahmananda and others, they are sending all worthless ones to me. And I have to accept them. And mother only could do that. And so she would accept them as disciples and give them shelter. But after initiation, that is some of the disciples, or most of them I can say, they would not even practice any spiritual disciplines because that was not their preference in life. But for mother, the welfare of her children, her disciples was most important. So she would initiate them, and she would know who is practicing the spiritual discipline and who is not. As a result, she had to wake up very early, 3:30 in the morning, and then she would spend several hours in the morning performing all the japa. Just try remembering each of her disciples, she would do her japa. So that's what she used to do. If on behalf of her disciples, she used to perform the spiritual disciplines. See, that is a Sadguru, a person who can totally accept you with all the baggage that you come from. So anugraha is this, that is infinite grace of the divine showers on you, and you will accept. In fact, one of the disciples would come to Jairam Bhatti place, and he would come and he would only come and then pay his respects to mother, and he would go and he will snore, he will sleep the whole time. So one of the youngsters complained to mother, "Mother, this fellow is coming here and he comes here only to sleep." Then mother said, "My child, let him sleep well. See, he is at his mother's place. Otherwise, in the world, in his family, he cannot even get good sleep. So let him come and let him sleep here. So I will take care of his spiritual disciplines. I don't want him to practice spiritual disciplines while here. Let him sleep. Let him have a restful sleep over here." So that is grace. But having said that, grace also needs some self-effort. Sri Ramakrishna's very famous story about the boatsman. The boatsman is sailing on the river Ganga, and in those days there were no motorized boats. So they would have their sails, they will row and then find the wind direction, and then the boatsman would unfurl the sail and then the boat would move towards. And Sri Ramakrishna would funnily say, then the boatsman would sit and would light up his smoke, and he would be smoking very comfortably. So that's what we need to do, that much, a little bit. We should just go one step forward so that the divine can come 99 steps towards us. So this is called as anugraha, that means grace. And then he says, paramam guhyam. I will give you the adhyatma, the spiritual knowledge that is very guhya. Guhya means, Arjuna is saying, guhya means very sacred, but it is also a secret. Only a guru can give out this secret to the disciple. Guhya also means that which is very near to oneself, that which is hidden, but it is near oneself. It is nearer than the nearest. In the Upanishads we see this. He is the nearest he is nearer than the nearest to the seeker, but farther than the farthest to the person who does not seek. So he is nearer than the nearest. We have this treasure box with us, and then we have stored all the treasure in it, and we have forgotten, we have misplaced the keys or thrown away the keys somewhere, and the box is covered with dust. After a long time, you come into the room and you are searching for the keys. You are frantically searching for the keys, and you are also searching for the box. It's all covered with so much of dust. First, you remove all the dust over there, and then you will search for the keys. You will find that key which has been misplaced, which is there somewhere. That is Guhya. That means it is there, but it is secretly hidden away somewhere. First, get the key. Guru has given us the key. The key is the mantra that the Guru gives to us. And with that, we can unlock the treasures to the divine realm. And it is the ego which says that I am doing this, I am doing that, etc. Just remove that ego. The dirt and dust is the ego. It has to be removed. And he says, Yatvayoktam vachastena. Here, in the previous chapter, Sri Krishna addresses Arjuna as Dhanam Jaya. It's important in this because he says there Dhanam Jaya. Dhana means wealth. Jaya, one who has won over, or one who has conquered, victorious, and who has got the treasure. So here the treasure is hidden. He is addressing Arjuna and says the treasure is hidden within you. It is not somewhere out there. It is within you itself. And he used to give Sri Ramakrishna used to give the example of the musk deer. Musk deer has got the fragrance hidden within its navel, and it is so mad after the fragrance. It's going everywhere and trying to search where from the fragrance is coming. But the musk deer doesn't know that the fragrance is within her own navel. It is there. So the divine is hidden deep within our heart, within our selves, as it were. Guhyam adhyatma samnitam yatvaya uktam vachastena moham ayam mohaha vigataha. You have dispelled my delusion, he says. Moha means the delusion. What is it? The moha of Arjuna was, in the beginning, we say that I, Arjuna, who is one of the Pandavas, I have to kill my kith and kin. I have to kill my gurus. I have to kill my near and dear ones. Therefore, I will not do it because I will incur sin. Now, after having revealed, Sri Arjuna now feels that the Lord indeed is behind all of this. He is the perpetrator and he is the one who is suffering. God is himself in the form of both the perpetrator and also the sufferer. Both of them is He. God is behind all. Nimitta matra. I shall only become an instrument. An instrument cannot complain. Whatever the wielder of the instrument does, the instrument only has to obey. If he pulls the trigger, the instrument cannot say, I will not go and hit the target. No, will have to do it. So, don't complain. That is one thing in our life. If we can be less complaining, the more will the divine fill our being. Because ultimately, we take full refuge or surrender to the divine. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, showing the Rani, in those days, the temple that Rani Rasmani built, the Kali temple where Sri Ramakrishna lived, it was very beautiful. It's one of the largest, one of the large structures that was built in those days. And it was it had manicured gardens, it had beautiful roads and lakes and ponds and all of that. So when people would come to Dakshineshwar, they would be charmed by the beauty of the temple garden. And Sri Ramakrishna would say, look here, when people come and see this place, they will say, Rani Rasmani has built this temple garden. But little do people know that it was not Rani Rasmani who built it, it was the Divine Mother herself who built it. She herself gave a vision to Rani Rasmani, and she herself made all the needed facilities in order to build this temple. She facilitated this building of the temple. Little do people know that it is the Divine Mother herself who is behind all of that. And he used to say, give up the ego, I am the doer. Not me, but thee. That is the idea. He chose us, and let us be grateful for being chosen. We will stop here for this week, and we will take up the next verse, second verse of the 11th chapter, next Sunday here. Om Shantakaram Bhujagashayanam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gaganasdrisham Meghavarnam Shubhangam Lakshmikantam Kamalanayanam Yogiridhyanagamyam Vande Vishnum Bhavabhayaharam Sarvalokaikanaatham. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.